The best of the best. Right across Australia. The best of the John Laws Week.
Another John Laws Week on the radio. You listen to the man with the golden microphone. You got it all. Right across Australia. There were laughs, there was news, and a tear or two. There were good vibrations coming right through to you. Through your radio. Right across Australia. This is what he said. This is what he did. This is why you laughed. This is why you cried. This is how Lawsy kept you in the know. It happened this week on the John Laws Morning Show. Right across Australia.
Peter Farris QC, to whom we've spoken before, is the former head of the National Crime Authority. Now, Peter Farris was one of the strongest supporters of the investigation into Dr. Hanif when it began. That was until the bungling started, when he became one of its fiercest critics. Peter Farris, good morning.
Good morning. It's nice to be right sometimes.
Is there any doubt that Dr. Hanif would now be entitled to compensation, and fairly substantial compensation, one would think?
In my opinion, no doubt. If Hanif wins that, he would get greater damages, I think. And I also think that Andrews would have to resign.
Kevin Andrews is already saying Hanif won't get his visa back.
So I think Andrews needs to be very, very careful about what he says. And what he's reported to have said that Hanif rushing off home adds to Andrews' suspicions is just plain stupid.
Well, I agree. Should heads roll as a result of this debacle?
Oh, absolutely. Damien Bugger is the DPP. His term expires very shortly. He obviously will not be reappointed. I think Kelty's got to go, and I think the prosecutor who made the misstatement must be in risk of losing his job too.
Laws.
Immigration Minister Kevin Andrews.
I have to make decisions and do so with effectively one arm tied behind my back because of information I'm being told I can't release and make public.
By whom are you told that?
The Australian Federal Police and also the legal advice that I have in relation to that information.
Do you believe that the public have a right to know the basis for Dr. Hanif's visa withdrawal?
I understand that people want to know the reasons. My difficulty is I've got to balance that up with the police's desire not to release information that might jeopardise the ongoing investigation both here and in the UK.
Why did you make that very stupid statement about his swift departure increasing your suspicion?
This goes to some of the information that I have provided to me. Let's remember he was detained at Brisbane Airport with a one-way ticket to India. This was, 6 days or so after the birth of his child.
Yeah.
Now we're told that his intention was he needed to get back to India because of the birth of his child, yet that obviously hadn't been the major consideration at the time of the birth.
This is the best of the Lawsy Week.
There are many, many tributes this morning to Alan and Judith Howell, as well there should be. A loving couple devoted to each other, both in their early 70s. Alan and Judith Howell died together last Sunday evening, just on dusk, not far from their home at St Mary's in Western Sydney. The car was destroyed on the Great Western Highway. Two Holden sedans came rocketing along the highway. According to witnesses, they just barreled into the Howells' car. The same witnesses have told police the Holdens looked to be drag racing, and the Howells just didn't stand a chance. Their extended family naturally shattered, 7 children, 15 grandchildren. Andrew Scipione is the Deputy New South Wales Police Commissioner. What can you do?
The reality is we've seized 177 vehicles this year. Last year was over 400. We're just going to have to keep going at it. We need to make sure that we continue with the education because, again, people need to understand that they stand accountable for their actions when they're driving.
Caitlin, are you there?
Those people that were killed in St Mary's, that was my auntie and uncle.
Oh, really? How
Not just
awful.
me, though. In 1980, my brother and 4 of his mates were killed by idiot drivers, and now we've got to live through it again.
Dear,
What
dear.
more is it going to take? They're not going to lose their licences. They're going to get away with it again. It doesn't bring our auntie and uncle back, but, they could lose their licences forever.
And you must, from what I've heard, Alan and Judith Howell were pretty terrific people.
They were.
Yeah.
They were.
It's sad, Caitlin. And I'm sad for you, as the people who are listening are. And there are going to be a whole lot of unhappy people around the Howell family because there are a lot of people involved. They must have been terrific people. I know they worshipped at their church, they cleaned the church, and they were...
They've done everything.
Yeah, they did. Anyway, Caitlin, you do your best, darling. You're going to be sad, but let me tell you, you're being quite normal by being sad, because obviously you've lost somebody you love.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Joe.
Okay, darling. Bye.
on the John Laws Morning Show.
Here's a little story that'll come as a surprise to millions of red-blooded Aussie men who think they're hot in the cot. You're not. You're not, fellas. A recent report has found Australian women are the least satisfied in the bedroom. So that means one of two things. Either Aussie fellas aren't much good or our women's expectations are too high. I don't know which. The women of Saudi Arabia have emerged as the most fulfilled between the sheets. How they ever get to the women of Saudi Arabia, I wouldn't have the vaguest idea. But anyway, the women of Saudi Arabia would have to say that or they'd be stoned to death, I would think. Maurizio.
Myself and my long-suffering wife, we've got 2 kids.
Yeah.
We make love nearly every night. Let me explain, John. We nearly do it on Monday, nearly on Tuesday, nearly on Wednesday. And I think she likes it that way.
Good of you to call.
Thanks for taking me.
And send my condolences to your wife.
Thank you.
Okay. The freeway over the bridge has collapsed in the city of Minneapolis, sending cars plunging into the Mississippi. There could be as many 20 cars in the river, I'm led to believe. It's a twisted mess of steel and concrete. Janice Lane Hewitt is the executive director of radio station KFAI in Minneapolis, and she's on the line.
About 2 minutes after 6 p.m. this evening, the north and southbound branches of the 35W bridge collapsed into the Mississippi River. It was at the height of rush hour.
Yeah.
The bridge started to shake somewhat, and it then was slowly giving away before it finally completely plunged into the river. We've just heard or just learned that 3 people have died. There are 35 injured. Some 6 are critical, 22 are non-critical. Due to blunt force trauma.
But it sounds like a dreadful thing, doesn't it? There must have been just absolute panic on what was left of the bridge. So cars would have been running into one another, obviously trucks running into one another, and all in all it sounds like one hell of a mess. Michael Renford, the son of the late, great Des Renford, and a friend who was a terrific friend to everybody he befriended. Michael has just conquered the English Channel to honour his dad, and the great work which is being done by the Victor Chang Cardiac Research Team. And we're lucky enough to have Michael on the line.
I'm pretty happy, a little bit sore and tired. Without being a little bit big-headed, I'm quite proud of myself at the moment.
Well, you should be. You should be very, very proud of yourself. And don't think Desi wouldn't be proud of you. He'll be up there applauding, believe me.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that at all. I think he'd have a little smile on his face because his fastest time for the Channel was 11 hours 42, and I managed a time of 12 hours and 10. So in the father and son stakes, he still holds a faster time than me.
Yeah, well, he had plenty of practice, mate. He did it 19 times or something.
Yeah, that's correct. He had 19 times to pull out a fast time. I've had 1, and that's it.
Not going to do any more?
No, I've retired.
Yeah, well, I think you're very wise. You're very brave, you're very determined, and as I say, Desi would be really, really proud of you.
Oh, that's much appreciated, John. And I've got to say quickly that Dad and my mum Patty were just huge listeners of yours, and I really do wish you all the best in retirement in November. Enjoy. You deserve it.
That's very, very important to me, Michael. Thank you very much indeed.